everybody, welcome to today's video. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about some stuff that the salesperson probably should have talked to you about before he sold you your bike. And that's your brake lever position. For this lesson, you're going to need an Allen wrench or maybe even one of those funny looking star wrenches and your bike. Let's get ready because class is in session. Hey guys, before we get started in this video, make sure to check out my Patreon page. This is how I get support from my YouTube channel. The more Patreons I can get, the more of these videos I can make, and I would love to take this channel to the next level for you. Sign up on my Patreon. You can sign up for just as low as $1 a month, and the link is in the description of this video. Okay, listen, I have taught so many fundamental level riders, or riders just getting into the sport, or riders who just got a new bike, and one of the things that is affecting them more than they don't know, the piece of information that they don't know is where those brake levers are and how it affects your hand position and ultimately your arm position and being centered on the bike. First, let me start by telling you the common problem. The common problem is new riders tend to set up their brake levers from their seated position. So they'll get on the bike and sit on the seat just like this, and they'll adjust the brake levers where it's comfortable sitting. Let me tell you why that's a bad idea. When we're sitting down and riding our bikes, I call this the Mary Poppins position. In this position, you should be relaxed, you should be able to look around, you should be able to whistle your favorite song, and you should be able to move your hands wherever you want to shift or to raise your saddle or to use your brakes. So it's actually, your brake levers can be almost anywhere, and in Mary Poppins position, you'll be able to use them. What's more important is adjusting your brake levers from your downhill neutral stance. This is when we're riding the most aggressively, and we need to have optimal hand position and brake position for control over that bike while riding down trail. The best hand position is going to be for your hands to be all the way on the outside of the handlebar, just like this. We don't want to see any grip on the outside of your hand. This could snag a bush, it could snag a tree, but also I like to think about my handlebars as my antennas. So with my hands all the way to the outside of the handlebars, I know where my widest part of my bike is. So I actually have a lot more awareness. Another great thing about having a wide hand position like this is it's better for leverage. So climbing uphill at a saddle, trying to race really fast, trying to jump, or even lean the bike over into a corner is going to be a lot easier with a wide grip just like this. What I want to talk to you about is the funny little curves on the brake lever. If the brake lever was designed to just be pulled straight, it would just be straight as a stick. But the engineers that get paid tons of money to do this stuff for us actually design these funny little bends for a specific reason. Now, the only place that human flesh should ever touch on a brake lever is that last little bend right here, just like this. And this actually increases the performance of the brake. If you're grabbing the brake lever with two fingers, this is bad because when I take the hand off of the bike, I'm only holding on to the bike with my thumb and my pinky. You want your longest and strongest finger wrapped around the grip for maximum control. If you're pulling your brake lever and it hits your middle knuckle, and that's the reason you're using two fingers on your brake lever, then this is when you need that brake lever adjustment. As you can see that from the correct position, when I pull the brake levers, that brake lever is nowhere near my middle knuckle. Another thing I want you to consider is a lot of us have really expensive bikes, carbon fiber frames, high-class suspension. Don't think that you have crappy brakes on your bike. These brakes are just as good as the rest of your bike, and they work with 100% performance with just one finger. Two fingers does not make your brakes work 200% better. Scout's honor. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the brake lever in kind of a position that's normal to to see new riders have. Alright, so I'm kind of exaggerating here, but I want to show you some things to look out for if you just got a new bike, and that's that brake lever being too high like this. We could see in my Mary Poppins position that this position works just fine. I can pull the brake lever, I can use the shifter, and everything's great. But when I stand up, it makes this really uncomfortable bend in my wrist right here. And what this does is it wants to push my elbow back. And we all know from the Dance with the Bike video that when your elbows are down, it pushes your chin behind the handlebar and makes you uncentered. So we can see that a bad brake lever position has a domino effect all the way up to bad positioning. Wow, that thing sucks. I really hope you guys are enjoying my guest speaker today. His name is Cockle-Doodle-Doo, and he signs autographs. You come on over, and we'll get him to do some chicken scratch on whatever you bring over. All right, improvising.
That's after your outro.
Yeah, right? Okay, so what you're gonna... Geez, shut up. What you're going to want to need is a Allen wrench. I've got a 3-way Allen wrench here. This is a really common bike tool, and I'm going to see which size here fits into my shifter. I'm going to go ahead and loosen that up, and my brake lever. I'm going to go ahead and loosen that up. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I like to find where that perfect brake lever position is. What I'm going to do is put my hand on the handlebar right where I want it, which is all the way on the outside here, and I'm going to put the final bend here right where I want it, which is on my trigger finger. So I'm going to move this brake lever over just like that. So now when I squeeze the brake lever and hold it, it's nowhere near my middle knuckle, and my finger's pulling more of an angle towards my palm and not upwards towards my face. From there, I just want to stand up with my chin over the bars, maybe even on your tippy toes a little bit, and angulate this down so that I don't have an awkward bend in my wrist. I'm going to put my elbow where I want it for downhill riding, and we can see here that my hand is in a straight line with my arm. This means it's going to be easier for me to control the bike in downhill situations, especially when it comes to bike body separation. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze and hold the lever. That's going to keep it in place here. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten this thing up. Now the first thing you might notice when you adjust your brake levers to the proper position is you can't easily reach your dropper post or your shifters, and that's not a bad thing. When we're riding downhill, we now have the opportunity to jump and to turn and to make a lot of movements on the bike, and our knuckle will not hit these shifters or the dropper post while you're in midair. Remember, when we're in our Mary Poppins position, which is usually when we need to use our shifters anyway, I can actually just move my hand over and use my shifters just fine. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk to you about is riding through the cones of learning and coming to a complete stop. What you want to do is come to a complete stop before the last cones in the classroom. We're going to put one foot on the ground, and then we're going to assume the tripod stance. That's the tripod stance. Super balanced, can't push me over. Whenever you need to come to a stop on the trail, when you're fully stopped, check and make sure you have the tripod stance dialed. There are so many times when beginner developing riders come to a complete stop and then they start stumbling and then their bike tips over and then they're doing somersaults down the hill. Making sure you have a dialed tripod stance is going to ensure that when you come to that effective and safe stop that you'll be able to dismount the bike and not go tumbling down the hill when you don't want to. What you want to do is prepare for your braking, and you want to put your eyeballs on the spot that you're going to put your foot down. Come to a smooth and steady stop, and I want you to unweight the foot that you plan on putting on the ground. This will allow you to take it off the pedal easier. Don't look away from your foot placement spot until your foot is on the ground and you have all of your body weight on that foot and in the tripod stance. Only then can you look away. Make sure to practice a safe dismount with your left foot down on the ground and with your right foot on the ground. There's going to be some times on the trail where you don't get to pick which foot you want to put down. Consider this. What if you're riding a trail and there's an uphill to this side and a downhill to this side? If I need to come to a stop, I better put my right foot down over here on this side so that I'm going into the tall side of the hill. If I accidentally put my left foot down, it's actually a lot further down than you might think, and that can cause you to tumble and roll down the hill. If you're coming to a stop and needing to take your back foot off, just go ahead and leave your pedals level and lock your brakes. When you need to come to that stop and take that foot off, you can put all your weight on the front foot, and if your brakes are locked, the chain won't move, and you can put your back foot on the ground. If you're coming to a stop with your front foot on the ground, this is a little bit more tricky. What I want you to do is put all your body weight on your back foot. This is going to rotate your cranks to where your back foot is now down at a 6 o'clock position. At this point, when you lock the brakes and come to a stop, you'll be able to take your front foot off the bike a lot easier and put it down onto the ground for the tripod stance. For better braking performance, we have to understand that our knobbies on our tires need to bite the ground. So we need the tire to be continuously rotating for this to work properly. If we're skidding and the back wheel's locked up, all you're doing is dragging your back wheel down the trail like you're dragging a bobsled behind you. Let's face it though, sometimes we all have a little bit of skid-idiot in us. And if you are recognizing that you are skidding, what I want you to do is just ease up on that brake lever squeeze just a little bit so that you're still on the brakes, but that the tire starts rotating so we can get that traction biting into the ground that we need. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to avoid a common myth when it comes to braking, and that's leaning back. We want to rely on both of our brakes, and when we lean back to brake, this unweights our front wheel, so we lose front traction and we lose braking performance on the front brake. And if you're trying to come to a safe stop, why would you want to do that? When riders lean back when they brake, I call this the loaded slingshot position. You'll get flung over the bars twice as hard as you normally would if you were centered on the bike. Okay, so we want to use the brakes, but we don't want our body to get shoved forward when we're applying those brakes, right? So what are we going to do instead of leaning back? What I want you to do is slightly lower your center of mass, and I want you to bring your front foot up like this. So you're pointing your toe to the sky and dropping your heel. What you might notice is when you do this, it pushes your knee back slightly more in line with your hip, and it does push the hip back slightly, but you can achieve this while keeping your chin over the handlebar, keeping equal weight on both tires. Try to push your speed further and further as you develop this skill to where you're coming into that classroom nice and hot and you're able to come to a safe and effective stop without skidding. To progress this skill from the driveway, you're going to want to change the terrain. You might want to set up the same braking drills in some dirt or some gravel or even some grass. And if you want to progress this even further, start changing the pitch of the terrain that you're riding on. Ride down a slight hill and even get to the point to where you're riding down a pretty steep hill. Hey guys, I appreciate you watching this video. I hope that the tips in today's video help you get your brake lever set up to a little bit more of a comfortable position to give you more control on the downhill trail, which can turn into more confidence, which leads to more fun. If you like some of the tips in this video, make sure to pick up my book, Shred Essentials, a mountain bike skills guide. You can get this on my website, leviwert.com. You can also pick this up on Amazon Kindle, and I even have a digital copy so you can have this reference guide on your phone. That's it. I don't need to say anything else, right? Like, subscribe, if you like roosters. Hit the notification bell. Share with a friend, make a comment. What else do people do? Do all that stuff. Tell me how much you like this shirt. I just got it.